Good afternoon to everybody who's on the call today and anybody watching this subsequently on our YouTube channel. Today is an opportunity really for us to talk to you all about the components of your application and really to address any queries you might have at this later stage of the award process. So it's great to have people here. I'm joined today by Sarah West and Paula Melvin. Both will be able to address your award query questions. In particular, Paula and Sarah deal with the student, scholar, and FLTA programs, so they will have full knowledge of all aspects of it. Um, while we are here as well, just to reiterate the point that the deadline for receipt of applications is strictly 4 p.m. on the 21st of October. The system in the US then closes down for applications after that point. So just be very aware at 4 p.m. Irish time that the system will close down. Before we get into any of the Q&A aspects, I just want to also note that there is another deadline for another part of the program. This is for the Schumann Awards. That's for students and scholars, European ones and American applicants for this. If this is something that you are considering, you can certainly look through. It's our colleagues in Belgium, Luxembourg, who run this program. It has a separate deadline of noon on December 2024. So certainly I would encourage you, if this is something of interest to you, to look for that as well. So I guess coming down to really the key aspects of our opportunity today is really to deal with any questions that people might have, or if there are any comments as well that maybe in a broad sense we can make. I would say for anybody who hasn't picked the reward yet, we certainly would have seen some applicants who have not actually selected an award. I would recommend obviously that you kind of finalize, go down to that. We have been saying this year that the All Disciplines Awards have typically been slightly more competitive purely because they cover so many spaces. So in a sense, I would say if you perceive that there's a sponsored award in a particular area, you might seriously consider whether your application would be best served going in that direction. So there's a couple of comments are in the webinar chat, but one of them is, can you please, if possible, tell us if you're a student, FLTA, or scholar or professional when you're asking the question, because there can be slight differences in the answer, so we wanted to be a little bit more specific on that. So I think I'm going to go quiet for the moment, and I'm going to pass it on to my colleagues Sarah and Paula to address any queries as they come through.
Brilliant. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Do feel free to pop in your questions in the chat, just letting us know your award category. Can see some coming in now. Should references be included in a particular academic style? I'm not sure if this is for student or scholar, but speaking at the scholar level, your recommendations should come from your home institution, and at least one of these should be from a colleague in your field outside your home institution. So this could be academic, or otherwise, maybe if you want to expand upon academic style, it would need to be on some kind of institutional headed paper.
There's an anonymous attendee writing saying that they're a student applying to a Thought Law Masters. Would you mind explaining how detailed the research proposal should be for someone applying to a Thought program? Talk about the program in which you'd like to go to. Please note that if you're applying for a Law Masters, it's quite common in particular for the law students to apply for up to 5 different masters and list their preference. So just talk about that in general, but please note that the people who are reviewing your application will be experts in your field. So they'll be lawyers, barristers, academics in law. But then at the interview stage, odds are no one on the interview panel will actually be an expert in your area. So please bear that in mind when you're writing your application.
I can see for the scholar in the creative writing, the professional fellowship, perhaps you're looking at page count for a writing sample. I don't believe we've specified a page count on our writing samples in our instructions. You can upload a PDF version of your writing sample, but I don't think that the online system will have a page count limit. Just bear in mind that, your application will be reviewed by technical experts in your field. So probably between the 3 to 5 page limit, we would say. I know, Dara, does that sound like window, or Paula on your end?
For a lot of the students, it generally tends to be 2 pages for a lot of the students' ones. So say, for example, the CV, we can accept up to maximum 4 pages, but generally it's like to keep it 2 pages. But
Yeah.
as a rule of thumb, please keep it concise and it should really make sense. So say, for example, if you're a student, you should say, I want to go to Wyoming because X person is there. And please make sure you're thinking outside of the 2 coasts. It is supposed to be a meaningful exchange between people in the United States and people in Ireland. There's a question here about dependents. So I'm not sure if you're an FLTA student or scholar. FLTAs are not permitted to bring dependents. However, if you are a student or a scholar and you're married, you can bring your spouse, and you cannot bring fiancés, and cohabiting, you have to be married just for visa purposes. So that's the rule about dependents. Someone's saying that they're a current PhD student interested in applying as a student researcher. Can I begin the award in 2026? So you're applying at the moment for the 25-26 academic year. So say, for example, if you're going for 4 months as a student, you can definitely start your award, say, January or later in the year in 2026. The latest date selected for 2025. If you're applying at the moment for the awards, you're applying to go at the end of next summer to the following summer. And that's how it works for Irish. If you see any slight difference between the application form and if you're looking at any other commissions, the Irish guidelines are specific to the Irish Commission and the requirements. So some of the rules differ between the 160 plus countries in which Fulbrights run around the world. So where you see any differences in the application and our Ireland specific guideline, please refer to the Irish specific guidelines.
I'm just going to jump in. There's a professional applying for Fulbright Scholar Program. Can one of the 3 referees comment on professional work, not specifically on research? Absolutely, yes.
Again, someone's asking, I'm not sure if they're a scholar, student, or FLTA, can family visit on holidays and not apply for a visa? Professional, e.g. family come for 2 weeks. So that person is a scholar. Yes, your family can come and stay with you and visit you, and that is completely and utterly fine. So if someone's undertaking a tech impact award and they're only going for a short period of time, sometimes families go for a short period of time and just get ESTAs, and we help organise visas where applicable for your dependents.
I can see another query coming in regarding the length of the CV for the professional award. For the scholar program in general, the length of the CV or your resume cannot exceed 6 pages. So just bear that in mind as you upload it as a PDF. It needs to be no more than 6 pages as a file. Also, for the Tech Impact Award, they're asking, is it specifically for the ICT, information communication technology industry, focus on research, or is it open to all disciplines? I'm an artist/professional. The Tech Impact Award is fabulous in that it is open to all disciplines that utilize technology in some way. So it might be that you need a certain type of technology for your work or interested in exploring it in the US, or that you have some type of technology you wish to offer to another space in the US. So it's really broad, but has that twist of utilizing technology in some way. I hope that answers your question.
There's a
question. Sorry, Paula. Thanks, Paula. There's somebody saying, I'm applying for the Creative Ireland sponsored award as an arts professional. Is the home institution necessary for this award? The answer is no. You can put at large, or you can put another, or you can leave that blank as necessary. Obviously, in your application, you can advise where you're actually coming from. The list of institutions obviously won't be extensive, and it won't cover probably a lot of companies or smaller companies. So that's not a problem.
I'm a PhD student. Is the recommendation of 2 pages for the research proposal and personal statement combined, or 2 pages each? 2 pages each, generally. And then there's another question from a PhD student interested in applying as a student researcher. What details should the institutional sponsor's letter contain? To be honest, the more enthusiastic they can be, the better. But for students, it's just happy that they're going to offer you a research space and they're happy to take you under their wing, and potentially, if you're doing a PhD, happy to supervise and help out in that stage. But the more enthusiastic they are, the better. Every little helps for your application. They are quite prestigious and competitive. Someone's saying that they're a Fulbright Student Award applicant. How much information should be in your CV versus in your personal statement? And please note that your personal statement is obviously all about you. So Fulbright differs from other research grants, academic grants, in the sense that we're very, very interested in who you are as a person. But just think of it from the person who's reading your application's perspective. We don't want to read the exact same CV and just rehash the personal statement. So you can kind of be clever about it. Please don't just rehash the same things again and again and again. You can mention something in your CV and expand on in your personal statement. That is a great idea.
Just a few questions coming in related to dependents and immigration. If someone's going to be married by the time they're going on their Fulbright, the story with the J1, J2 visa process is if someone's you're married to or a child is going to be joining you in the US for more than 90 days, they would not be traveling over on the ESTA visa waiver program, and we, through the commission with you, would be processing them as a J2 dependent. So depending on how long they'd be accompanying you in the US, we would then work with you if you are successful to process a J2 with them. And related to that, the 2-year home rule, this is a regulation of a J1 visa, which you would be getting as part of being a Fulbright awardee. And that is a requirement that you have to come back to your home country for 2 years after you get your J1 visa. And this doesn't prohibit you from traveling to the US on the visa waiver program, as we mentioned. And if you look specifically on the US Department of State website, you can see all the other types of visas you could access if you had also had a J1. So it doesn't preclude you from traveling to the US, but there are certain types of visas you could not apply for if you have been granted a J1 within 2 years.
Question for a PhD student: is it necessary for one of my recommenders to be a professional reference rather than academic? If yes, my teaching assistant duties within the university be referred to as an academic and count towards being a professional reference. Yes, that's perfectly fine. We've had people use a GAA chairperson as a referee in the past. It's all about you. It's not just about your academic, it's also about your extracurricular. We really care about you as a person. And just in regards references, please note that your referees have the same deadline to apply as you do. So all 3 must submit by 4 p.m. on the 31st of October.
There are a couple of different questions around the people applying for taught courses and about the research proposals that they're doing. Again, reiterating, I suppose, back to what we'd said, it is a little bit about the work that you might want to do under that program. Obviously, you should understand what the program is going to be about, but beyond that, you may or may not know what actual details are going to go, and that's understood by us. So put in as much detail as you would know. If we are interested elsewhere in what you're passionate about and your interests and maybe where you want to go for your career. So that's the opportunity to expand a little bit more on your potential future directions.
Someone saying they're a current PhD candidate applying for a student award. I cannot find the Irish specific guidance necessary for the application. Can you please advise where I can find these? So in initial email where you got the link to apply, and you got the link to apply to start your application in Slate, there was also the application guidelines are also in that email you received. But please get in touch with the commission. If you're a student, you can email me directly or awards@fulbright.ie. I'll put that in the chat, and we will also send you a copy. They're also inside Slate as well. So there's a few different places where you can get those.
There's a question: does it matter if I've already done a J1 graduate visa in the US? It would depend on which category of your grant you're applying to, because the type of visa, the J1 you'll be getting now, is a research scholar grant category for the scholar program. And there's sometimes a bar on taking on another J1 visa of up to 24 months. So you'd need to check with us regarding your eligibility then if you've had a J1 recently.
Another student question, should part-time jobs during college that are not related to our field of study be included in the professional experience section of the application? Yes, they can be. And just a query we usually get is in terms of hard copies. The Commission used to require applicants to submit 2 hard copies or 3 hard copies of their applications to the Commission office or by post, and we no longer require that. So no hard copies this year.
There's a question about applying for both the Tech Impact and Creative Ireland Award in the same year. You're only allowed to apply for 1 award in a year, so you would have to decide which of those are more suitable to you and select that as your award on your application.
And we welcome repeat applicants. So if you previously applied and were unsuccessful, you can apply and apply again. It's quite common to receive a Fulbright to be awarded one on your 3rd attempt. And we do offer feedback at certain times of the year. So if you do apply and you're not successful, please reapply. There's a lot of scholar queries. So we also welcome queries from FLTAs and students. You all have the same deadline.
There's a few questions coming in about acceptance percentages, and the Commission and the Fulbright program doesn't give acceptance rate percentages. If you're interested in, I can see one person's asking about the HRB option. Again, we're saying that because the all disciplines category is so broad, it's very, very competitive. So if you are able to align your project proposal and your work strategy for your application with a sponsored award, we would highly recommend applying for a sponsored opportunity.
As a freelance worker, I don't have one employer, but I work for several different organizations. Is it possible to include more than one option in the employee section? Yes, it is, and just apply. Obviously, you could mention it in previous employment, of course. Yeah, no, that's fine. And there's always the option to include it on your CV and upload it that way.
For someone who is applying for a scholar award that may not have a confirmed host affiliation, you depending on the award you're applying to, you may not be required to upload a letter of affiliation at that time. It's recommended that you do, but you don't have to. You should outline your host though, and why you're seeking this host to make your project in the US.
There's a question then, as a Creative Ireland applicant, does one need to include an academic institution as well, for example, as an artistic company or institution? The answer is no. If you make the case that the work that you're going to do can be carried out in whatever institution you identify, well, that's perfectly fine.
And there's an FLTA query that I'm delighted to receive. Is there any disadvantage to mention that you don't want to go to a certain area of the US as opposed to say you're happy to go anywhere? Be honest, if there's a certain place you really want to go, please mention it in your application. Of course, the FLTA award is different in the sense of scholars and students generally pick where they want to go and do their own research. And with the FLTAs, we do take in consideration where you'd like to go. However, we work with a set number of hosts. So if Montana are dead set, they want someone with Kerry or Cork Irish, we do our best to kind of facilitate the needs of the host institution. Sometimes the host institution might have a preference for an FLTA who has a PhD or a master's. So we really do take your preferences into consideration. We do listen to you, but we also need to take in consideration the parameters in which the host institution is working for those awards.
There's a question as well about the Fulbright Health Impact Award at the scholar level about word count restrictions. There's no word count restriction, but there is a page count restriction. So just bear that in mind.
Ashling had a question about the 2-year home rule. She's an Irish citizen in the UK, so she's wondering what counts as home. Would it be Ireland or the UK? We have, over the years, we've made cases to say that the country, if you're in the EU or the UK, that counts as your home country. There's always a variance that the US Board Control may make some comment on that, but typically your home would be based in the UK.
PhD student, if one applies now to bring dependents, but then later decides to go alone, would this change your circumstances be acceptable? Yes, that's fine. We do not pay for dependents regardless. That's perfectly fine.
There was a question from a student they wanted to do a master's in economics, couldn't find a specific award. Do we know of any award to apply for economics? I can't think of one offhand. We used to have an Enterprise Ireland award that might have fit that, but it doesn't anymore. So it's probably under the all disciplines, unless Sarah or Paula can change that.
And just piggybacking on that comment, we frequently do get queries from people saying, oh, is there a sponsored award for me? Firstly, I definitely advise anyone to have a good look at the sponsored awards and see if they fit in. But frankly, you're the best person to answer that. Have a look at them and see, does your research, you're the person who knows your research the best. So you're the best person to ascertain if one of those sponsored awards, if any, are the best fit for you. As a student, can you apply for both the sponsored award and the all disciplines or only one? Please apply for the sponsored award if you can, and you may be considered for the all disciplines then afterwards.
Paula, I just wanted to add to your comment as well about the Masters in Economics. You're making a very good point. The Masters that the person wants to do, it might be focused on a particular area. So it might be in EPA, environmental, so it might suit for GSI or EPA or even Teagasc. So it might depend on the area of economics that you
And
want to study.
it's the same for people looking for hosts. If people ring and ask, I'm a psychiatric nurse, where should I go to do a master's or whatever? Like, we're not experts in every single field and every single third level institutions in the States. We just can't be, because there's thousands of them. So it really is in your best interest to look at the sponsored awards yourself, but also talk to people who are experts in your field to ascertain the best place in the States to go for you. Question from an FLTA. In terms of the references for an FLTA, should the recommendations be asked to complete the recommendations in Irish or in English, please complete them in English. Our colleagues in Fulbright in the Institute of International Education in the US will be reading them as well. So all FLTA programs around the world are required to submit in English, including your references.
Switching over to a scholar question here about the length of the syllabi upload for the Creative Ireland Professional Fellowship. And for all scholar applications, it's up to 10 pages. So you don't have to submit a 10-page syllabus, but it is up to 10 pages of what you propose to teach or an example of what you have taught, maximum 10 pages in PDF.
And there's a oh, sorry, Eric.
Sorry, Julie had, I'm just following up on a question we had already started answering, but it relates to Julie's asking about the creative writing and poetry. So you're making a valid point that that sometimes poetry writing would be 10 to 20 pages. Now we do get artists as well who submit links, usually online links to the galleries of information. So one of the things you could consider, Julie, is actually to put in some links to the writing, and then the reviewer can follow those links through, if that's a possibility.
There's a student applicant here. When asked to upload diplomas as part of the application, must this be a scanned copy of the original, or can an electronic diploma and supplement similar be uploaded? Either or, it's fine. Please note that we can accept original copies of all transcripts bar UCD. In previous years, there's been issues when people upload UCD original copies. So please take a photo or upload a scan of a UCD document. There has been some issues this year. Apparently, people are finding it hard to find Maynooth University in the dropdown. If there's any issues like that and you cannot find your home institution or the institution you wish to go to in the US, please just type it in.
Somebody's asked about a previous experience having a J1 visa in the States, and would that impact on your student award? Probably unlikely, unless there was some issue associated with the J1 that you previously had, or if you've literally just come off that J1 visa. But outside of that, it shouldn't impact.
There's a question about the number of recommendations you would need as a professional. For all awards, you would need to have your 3 recommendations, whether you're an academic or a professional.
Applying for a student award, would the research statement or personal statement be a better place to expand on your future career, what we intend to use the period in the US for? I hope you mean for when you return to Ireland and your future career plans, because if you're planning to go to the US and stay in the US forever, Fulbright is not for you because you're required to come home for 2 years. And if you're talking about professional, what you hope to achieve professionally later on in your career as a result of your Fulbright, please put that in your research statement. And if what your personal goals are you trying to climb the highest mountain, visit every national park in the US, and then put that in your personal statement. So it really depends. It's up to you, really. A question we frequently get asked is, can you apply to more than one host institution? And the answer is yes, but it has to make sense. You have to have a strong rationale to do that. With regards to previous experience in the US, would having went on a J1 visa impact your chances of getting an Irish Fulbright Award? No. We really give preference to people who do not have extensive experience in the US. So say we would prefer someone who has not lived in the States for the last 4 out of the past 5 years, all right. But having done a J1, so having done a summer in New York is completely fine. And in cases, say, for example, with the FLTAs where students have already spent a couple of months in Montana, and naturally we try to place them somewhere new where they haven't been already.
There's a couple of scholar questions about, oh, sorry, Dad, are you jumping in about it?
Go ahead, Sarah.
Just regarding the application form, 2 sections, one about referees and do they need to upload a reference letter or fill in a structured form on the system? When you come down on the left-hand side of the application form and click on recommenders, you'll see as it pops up there, it gives you a form that you plug in their information and click send to recommender, and then they pick up on their end there. So you'll be able to put in all their details, email, and a message to them, and then they receive a message from the Fulbright system. And then regarding the query about additional grants, if you're, sorry, just move down, hold on 1 second. Does this count if you're applying for research leave and won't know until January? Does this count as an additional grant, or is it covered by the question regarding sabbatical pay? Put in what you have the best of your ability at the time of your application. And if there's any further follow-up that's needed at a later stage, we can always connect on that.
There's a student query about references. Can I upload my referee's reference myself, or do they have to do it themselves? They have to do it themselves. You're not able to actually read what they say about you. Just Sarah was mentioning there about the referees and how it works. Obviously tell them to check their junk mail if they have not received a link to submit. In regards to submitting undertaking a thought master's, most are 2 years long. How does that work in terms of awards only supporting the first year? You are correct. Fulbright Commission will fund the first year of a 2-year master's. However, a lot of students sometimes get funding, other sources of funding for the second year. I have seen in my time very happy instances where someone is awarded a Fulbright Award and then the institution in the US gives them a full fee waiver. So definitely seek that. But no, we do not fund the second year of a 2-year master's. You are correct there.
There's a question.
There's a question, sorry, from an anonymous attendee who I previously got through to the interview round and scored quite well. I'm hoping to reapply. Would it be expected that significant changes will be made to my application? Not necessarily. If it makes sense, if it still makes sense for you now, then that's sufficient. So it's really that the story still holds water and where you want to go still makes sense, and that you're interested there. And hopefully, in the time you've had since then to reflect, you can probably be a bit more, kind of more into maybe the aspects of the program and the cultural exchange part of that. Sometimes without knowing, obviously, what you've done, but sometimes where people fall down is actually they haven't given as much thought to the cultural exchange and the experience that they're going to have in the States. And that's very, very important, because at its heart, Fulbright is a cultural exchange program. It's an opportunity for you to live and spend time and breathe the same air as all of your American compatriots. So that's kind of a key thing. And you're saying you're hoping to reapply. I hope that's gone past hoping and that you are going to reapply, because it's something we definitely welcome.
And sometimes when we're giving feedback to people who received a Fulbright interview and underwent the interview, the feedback is extremely positive because you were just pipped to the post and they're extremely competitive awards. So yeah, we definitely don't expect you to kind of reinvent the wheel if you're reapplying. A question from an FLTA. My university has issued me a higher education achievement report with all of my grades and courses and codes listed and signed off by the principal of the college. Is this acceptable, or do I need to ask my university to issue a specific transcript? That will definitely suffice for your results.
There's a question.
Sorry, go ahead, Sarah. Go ahead.
It's not specifying the category, but it's important, I suppose, to acknowledge across all the categories. Does Northern Ireland fall under the Irish Fulbright or UK? I go to an Irish university as a doctoral student, but live in Northern Ireland. So as long as you are an Irish passport holder, or if you are an EU citizen or UK citizen having resided in the Republic of Ireland for 5 years minimum, you are eligible to apply through the Irish Commission.
Someone's asking how many people get to the feedback stage. So anyone who applies for a Fulbright can get feedback. You can get extra feedback if you also got to the interview stage. So anyone can request feedback during certain times of the year. Different times of the year, we're a very small team. At different times of the year, we're busier. So during specific timelines, we ask that you request the feedback during those times.
There's a question then, are there for further Fulbright events or engagement after someone receives the award during the study period in the US or after that? That's actually the biggest part of Fulbright, is your engagement and our engagement with you here in Ireland. In the US, you'll be engaging with a Fulbright program in the United States. You'll be engaging with other Fulbrighters in the States. Depending on the institution you go to as well, you could well be engaging with their Fulbright program that they have in place. And beyond that, then, as we always say, Fulbright can be for life. So absolutely engage with alumni. You continue to engage with the commission. So there's a lifetime of engagement beyond just your time that you spend in the States.
There's a financial question coming through about the visiting scholar program. Is the level of allowance for the stipend highlighted anywhere? We have outlined sort of the maximum kind of thresholds, but it really depends on where you are going specifically. The US Department of State sets a rate based on different bands of location within the US. So it depends on where you're going. And then the duration, it would be multiplied by the length of your project proposal. So you would know once you get selected, then what your award would be calculated at, and you can accept at that stage. If it's a sponsored award, it might be more clearly outlined, but that's how it would work at the all disciplines category.
Once a referee, oh, sorry, there's a few questions coming in, so they're all popping up. Once a referee receives a notification, do they upload a recommendation letter or answer questions provided in the system? They answer questions by scoring you, like tick, are you excellent, poor, very good, whatever, for different categories. And they also upload a letter. There's a lot of queries for scholar professionals. So if there's any students or FLTAs out there as well, please get in touch.
Emily has a question, just, is it risky to undertake a 2-year master's, no guarantee you can afford the second year and no guarantee of free waivers? Is it common for people to undertake 2-year masters through the Fulbright or rather try and seek out 1 year's masters? Well, as you know, we're only funding for a 1 year's masters. People do occasionally apply for a master's or even a PhD, and they seek their additional funding as and when they're over there. I guess we can only stand over what we can actually offer, but it is possible to seek out your additional funding and your free waivers beyond that. But I would maybe have that discussion with the admittance office in the institution you're looking to apply to, and ask them, where do people get their funding from?
There's a few questions generally about spacing and formatting. There's no prescribed font spacing preference or layout methodology.
Will the fact that my family funds and personal funds are quite low influence my scholarship chances for the student scholarships? Absolutely not. No, it does not impact your likelihood to get an award. When talking about a research proposal for a student award, when applying for a thought master's, how do you balance trying to talk about making a meaningful difference in your field when you're only talking about doing a master's, not a PhD? It really makes no difference if you're applying for a student award as to do a master's or a PhD, or if you're going for a scholar award. It's all about doing stuff for the greater good and making a difference. It really doesn't matter the fact that it's only a master's in your words. I wouldn't phrase it like that at all. Of course, you have future plans and what do you intend to learn during this master's? What are you going to bring with you from Ireland to the US? And what do you hope to learn and gain and bring back to Irish society for the greater good during your master's? So it actually doesn't make a difference that you're applying for a master's and not a PhD.
There's a question about what proportion of applications from the visiting scholar program go to be invited to interview. Again, this really depends on the percentage of applications received, whether they are going to be in the all disciplines category, if they're sponsored awards. So it changes year on year, and we don't really disclose any types of percentages there.
Does the system tell you if your recommender has uploaded their recommendation? Yes, it does indeed. Is it acceptable to use figures or charts in the research statement, the file being PhD? It will PhD, PDF. Yes, that is fine.
There's a question from Alva here, and it's quite a specific question. Alva, would you mind sending that question through as an email to awards@fulbright.ie, so we can probably dig a bit deeper into that? It's related to the Harry Ransom Centre.
Someone saying that they studied abroad in the US on an international exchange program during their undergrad. The application asked to upload your DS 2019, but I'm not sure I can find it. Is it absolutely necessary to upload it? Look, if you cannot find it, that's fine. Just submit it, and please make a note of that somewhere in your application. That's fine. Thank you.
There's a question here that says, professional, so for the Creative Ireland Award, I need a home organisation to sponsor me, but not a university. Is that right? Well, you don't, home means home means in Ireland, and host then is the US. So I'm going to presume that you're looking for a host institution in the US who will advise that they will effectively sponsor you, that they will provide the components that you need to do your work in the States. But you don't have to be recommended by anybody in Ireland, well, other than your 3 recommenders that we ask for.
This might be the same query, but they say I'm not attached to a university at the moment. That's completely fine. You don't have to be attending or working in a 3rd level institution to apply for a Fulbright Award. You can be at large. That makes no difference whatsoever.
There's a question about taking on paid work while you're in the US on a Fulbright at the professional Creative Ireland level. There would typically not be, full-time paid work happening with taking on any J1 or Fulbright Award. If there's some specific question about an employment arrangement, you can send us a direct email.
And please note that the deadline is strictly 4 p.m. Irish time on Halloween, the 31st of October, easy day to remember. So you still have time to complete your application. If you don't have a host institution yet, please just send that cold email. The fact that you're applying for a Fulbright will impress institutions in the US. And please always remember that it's a very large country. I'd like to see more applications applying to go to North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Kansas. It's not just all about the 2 coasts.
Just as a generic answer to Robbie has a couple of questions in, and we talk about the recommenders. The recommenders should be relevant to the work that you're going to do. So if they're not academic, but they are professionals in your space, again, they should be relevant to the work you're going to
do. Anonymous, again, about the Creative Ireland Sponsored Award. Do you need a home institution? Is it necessary? You can be at large. You do not have to be attached to an academic institution.
You still have time to ask us more questions. We still have time left in the webinar for any final queries, but definitely please remember that your references have the same time deadline to submit references for you. If someone is unavailable to submit, you can change your reference and put in someone else's name and get them to submit a referee for you. Any queries, please email them to awards@fulbright.ie. A scholar, FLTA, or student, or we're always here to help, obviously.
Yeah. And just one. Oh,
sorry, go ahead. Just making some key comments. One is that in terms of the award that you choose, please kind of make sure that is the correct award and it's the relevant award that you want to make. So spend that little bit of extra time just checking that out. The second part is that there's a lot of value in showing your application to a friend or colleague and asking them to kind of look through it and just get a view for how it makes sense, and it should really make sense to you first and foremost. That's a really important part. If it makes sense to you, then it's easier for it to be understood than by the reviewers or the interviewers on the Fulbright program later on. So it should very much make sense to you.
Oh, there's a few FLTA queries here. What is the difference in teaching and assisting as opposed to just teach or assist? Is this the same scheme? What is the difference? There's very little difference. However, where you actually get placed, there can be a wide variation kind of in your experience on the Fulbright. In some places where you're placed as an FLTA, you might be the Irish department, and then if you're somewhere like Montana or Notre Dame, there's a lot more lecturers and tutors. So in some places you'll be more assisting if you're in a larger institution that has a lot of Irish language classes, or if you are the Irish teacher, you are the lecturer, you are the teacher. So we will take into consideration how much teaching experience you have and your dialect and different things in addition to where you want to go when we are placing you. Someone's saying, can you clarify about recommenders? Do they have to be based in Ireland? I think I may have misheard. No, they do not have to be based in Ireland. And I think I have another FLTA query if someone else wants to hop in as oh, sorry. How do I find the list of available host universities for the FLTA online? See, it varies from year to year. Since you're applying at the moment to teach Irish in the US for the academic year starting September 2025 to 2026, we don't know yet. So you apply to the Irish Commission to apply to receive an FLTA award to go teaching Irish in the US, but the host institutions in the US need to apply to Fulbright in the US to get to host you. So we actually don't know the list, and the list does vary a little bit from year to year. So I actually don't know. No one knows yet what the list of Irish institutions. If you go on to Fulbright.ie and look at current awardees and have a look at the FLTAs, you can see where the FLTAs are currently placed for this current academic year. But it should be a very similar list, but it probably won't be 100% the same next year.
There's a question with regard to the research proposal. Can you advise of talking about future work that could arise from the visit, even if this is outside the scope of the Fulbright Award itself was advised? Certainly you could talk about your future plans, but bear in mind, Fulbright is a cultural engagement program. So we certainly would like to see maybe where this engagement will continue as well with Ireland and the US. That's what its basis is at a fundamental. So it's less about all of the future work you're going to do, but consider as well by also adding in the cultural aspects of that and your engagement with the US and Ireland.
On page 25 as well, in the guidelines, that's page 25, you can see the outline recommendations on making your project proposal. And perhaps maybe it connects in your Fulbright statement as well, where you can really extrapolate on this work and its impact in the ongoing sense for you personally and the wider community.
I'm a student. Oh, sorry. Work away.
Yep, go ahead.
I am a student applicant. I've already started my application and I clicked all disciplines, but now they want to change what their award will be. They want just say, sorry, it's after a few more people have some typed in queries, so your query is not in front of me right now, but you can change. You can go back. You don't have to delete your application and start again. You should be able to just select a different award, just change it from all disciplines to enterprise to EPA or whatever you're now applying for. That's fine.
Just to summarize a few of the scholar queries regarding page counts and different sections of the application. On page 29, it outlines the additional information and documentation to upload, be it your Fulbright statement. Your project statement has its own section. These are two different things. You have a sponsored award form if you're applying for a sponsored award. That's located in the supplemental forms when you go into country information. I could also share my screen in a moment and show you all. And then you can upload your additional documentation for your supplemental materials there too, and your course syllabi or bibliography. There's a question, does the 2-page limit include a reference list for citations to back up your proposal? The 2-page limit is for the Fulbright statement at the scholar level, 1 to 2 pages. There's a 10-page limit on the course syllabi, and then your bibliography for your project proposal, sorry, I'm just looking this up here, is 3 to 5 pages. So there's actually a lot more pages than just 2, and you can probably slot in your coverage of your references in those spaces. I hope that helps.
Somebody has a question about Erasmus exchange and whether they should mention that. I would say absolutely, but nearly what's more important maybe is the learnings and the experience that you had there, and how you might want to replicate that, or where that might, or how that's changed your opinion, and future similar work or experience might, impact you as well. So it's not just mentioning it, maybe take the learnings from it. That's more important.
Student, when it comes to a thought master's, I reached out to the program director, Fulbright ambassador in that university, and head of international students organization at that university. Firstly, congratulations, you really have your homework done. Best of luck. Do I include in my application with screenshots of our conversations? No need to if you think it's relevant to mention conversations or learnings, or that's totally fine. Please don't include screenshots of the conversations with those individuals.
There's a question about Fulbright Scholar Program. Is it common to have an expert in the field from the host institution to be a recommender? At the stage of having someone from your host institution write on your behalf, that could be suited to your letter of affiliation, your letter of invitation for this expert coming hosting you. Dara, I don't know if you want to jump in at all about getting somebody from your
Yeah,
host.
so that would be your host. That really would be more about your host wishing to resolve, but look for additional recommenders. There's a question, sorry, about preference to people going to the US who have little or no experience in the United States. Yes, that'll always be there, but we've had many people who are successful Fulbright applicants who have already spent some time in the US. Sometimes maybe what changes, it's a big country, so there's also the opportunity to go East Coast, West Coast, Midwest can be very, very different experiences as well. So you can certainly make the case. It's really down to if it makes sense for you to go back and do it, then push that strongly.
Very interesting question here. What in your minds makes for a good Fulbright or ethos and cultural exchange ambassador? I think someone who'd say yes to everything, who, well, within reason, who's definitely open to more experiences. We really don't want to send someone over to the US, or on the flip side, an American here to Ireland who's just going to sit in a lab or in a classroom. It's not just about you studying maths or physics or chemistry or whatever it is. It's really about doing something for the greater good, getting out, doing something. Are you going to teach people Irish dancing? Are you going to learn about American football? What is that other cultural engagement? It's not just about your project, it's about you. And then obviously it's a lifelong engagement. So we'd like you to see you return to Ireland and get involved with the Irish Fulbright Alumni Association and the Ireland United States Alumni Association and become a campus ambassador at a third level institution if applicable.
Yes, I suppose we are looking for passionate people. People who are passionate about their work, or maybe not even the work, but about areas outside of their work. Fulbright is an excellent opportunity, and we do like to see people who will take value out of that the whole platform that's available. So that's really just on top of everything that Paula said. Thank you.
There's a question for the Fulbright Scholar Program. If you pick the teaching lecturing category, can it be a few lectures, or does it need to be a substantial amount of lecturing? When you open up into the application form, it outlines the different categories: teaching, research, teaching, and research. And for teaching, it's to teach or team teach for at least one full semester. And you'd be then required to submit a syllabi to back that up.
Someone's saying, and it's a difficult query to answer, can you give an estimate of the amount of effort required for the application in terms of a timeline? Does it take 1 day, 5 days, etc.? It would be helpful to know. None of us on the call have actually applied for a Fulbright Award, so we haven't been through it ourselves. However, it's kind of like how long's a piece of string. I can think of 2 people who applied for Fulbright Awards who were unsuccessful, who are incredibly highly dedicated, very vast amount of leadership, but it was clear from their applications that they didn't really put much effort into the application. So if you're passionate about it and you really want it, put a lot of effort into it. I don't know if that's a great answer, but it's a difficult one to answer.
There's another one. Would a collaboration between Ireland, US, and another country like Zimbabwe be of interest? It's not really a case of interest. It is as an Ireland-US engagement. There's nothing to stop you mentioning that you have other, in parallel to Fulbright, other activities going ahead, and that's perfectly fine. But a Fulbright program is only to travel from Ireland to the US. It's not to then travel on to Zimbabwe.
Sorry if this has already been answered. There's a lot of queries. Would it go against you in your application process if you have a recommender who's based in the US, like a past employer? No, that is perfectly fine. So speak now, forever hold your peace. There's a few minutes left in the webinar if anyone has any final queries. But yeah, a lot of the time on the 2 hours to deadline, there's queries about recommenders or whatever. So definitely same deadline as you. A lot of the answers are actually available in those guidelines. So revert to that initial email that you received the link to apply.
Yeah.
A lot of the questions will be answered in those guidelines we use, Student Scholar FLTA.
Certainly Control F for whatever section of the application you're on within the guidelines, and it will bring you to whatever section you're at to talk you through the process. You can reach us at awards@fulbright.ie or by phone from our website. You can take the contact number and we'd be very happy to speak about any specific queries too.
And in terms of we've spoken about the components and the parts of the application, but the flavor of your application really should be mostly about you. That's what we're fundamentally interested in. At the review point, and in terms of the work you want to do, yes, we want to be sure that it makes sense and makes sense for you. We're agnostic. So people sometimes think, well, Fulbright would be interested in funding this area. That's actually not true. We might be interested in supporting you and what you can bring. Yes, in the sponsored awards are obviously our more focused areas, but even those, there's quite a lot of leeway in terms of sponsored awards. So if it makes sense, that's perfect. But do not spend all of your time working on the aspects of the research or study you're going to do there. Please put an awful lot of time into discussion about yourself and what you want to do and where you want to go, because it's a huge part of the application, and it's what maybe sets it apart from many other applications that you would put in place. And it's a very valuable exercise in doing that. Obviously, you can send emails specifically onto awards@fulbright.ie, and we'd be able to address those more directly.
There's a few last minute scholar questions coming through about the length of the project proposal, the project statement. There's a little uploader file. You click there. It's got to be 3 to 5 pages in PDF for the project statement. And for the personal statement, also known as the Fulbright statement, that is 1 to 2 pages.
Someone asked, can a recommender be from the host institution you're going to in the US? Yes, but it shouldn't be the same person, say, that is writing your letter of affiliation. And where possible, please include letters of affiliation in your application. We understand that the timelines with US institutions doesn't always line up with the Fulbright deadlines, but if you're accepted onto the Thought Masters in which you're applying for, please include it. But we also understand that it's quite frequently people find out early next year that they got the Fulbright and they don't get the acceptance to whatever Masters in the US until the following month. We understand that, and we try to be flexible where possible.
Okay. I think we're probably at the end of the questions, and there still is 2 weeks opportunity for people to send us emails, and please do spend some time and effort on your application. It can be a very worthwhile process. The process statement can be very useful beyond the Fulbright application as well. So do spend some time again on that. Thank you very much to Sarah and Paula, and we will all be available at the end of an email if you have specific queries. I think there's 1 or 2 that are going to come through to us. So thank you, and you're all very welcome. So thank you for your thanks as well. So best of luck, and we hope to see everybody who's on this call that they're in a position to submit an application. As all of the Fulbrighters who have been successful before said, I'm so glad I did submit an application, because without it, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have been where I'm at. So thank you to Sarah, Paula, Aoife as well for managing this webinar, and we hope to see you and see your applications in the future. Take care.